Welcome back to another episode of the Day After Podcast.
So, we have some tea or apple bee to talk about. Karishma, you are no longer associated with being the number one fan of Applebee's anymore.
Yeah,
Liz was like, hold my beer, hold my bourbon
yeah,
burger, and good God, like I have never seen anyone that angry on Survivor except for probably Sue Hawk or Brandon
yeah,
Hands.
yeah,
Like Liz has entered that level.
yeah. It was close to her, I think, leaving the game. Like that's how bad her not getting selected to go on this Applebee's rewards was. She flipped out. She became a horror villain during this. Like the like slow turnaround into the scream.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I like this was a reward challenge where I was watching it and I'm like, she's like, ooh, Applebee's, stuff like that. And like, you know, I know we have not talked highly of Applebee's on here. I haven't had it in a while. It's not
It's
like a
it's
go-to place.
decent. It's okay.
But like I get it. Sometimes, there's that emotional connection, or like sometimes there's really slaps and you like it. Um, and I get like when you see that, and then like Liz is like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of my kid and everything. And especially for Liz, because there's so little she can eat out there,
Yeah.
like and being starved and whatnot. All the thing is, I get why Q didn't do it,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I don't know if you heard this, but apparently in Tiffany's exit interview, both Maria and Kenzie were willing to, let Liz take their spot. And Q was like, no, I chose the people I chose.
Oh wow.
Did you know that?
I didn't. I did not know
I
that.
read that on Facebook, and I was like, one, I'm surprised that didn't make the cut because that's even worse. And I was like, yeah, that was 100% personal at that point because it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, like it's one thing to be like, oh, I don't want to choose you for it, but it's a whole other thing to be like, no, you're not giving up your spot
Yeah.
for someone else to do it.
Yeah. To be completely fair, she did just vote for Q. She wants Q
Yeah,
gone. Like
yeah,
and Q won the reward. He has every right to
he
choose
can
who he
choose
wants.
whoever he wants,
Yeah.
whether he wants to use it strategic or not.
Yeah.
Now, if I was in Q's position, he should have known better to choose his old Yanu peeps because
Mhm.
like especially, I feel like Tiffany, like, yeah, she's someone where it feels like if I've crossed her, I've crossed her. I'm an enemy for life, or at least in the game.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, it was like, well, maybe try and get Liz on my side because she's someone that could be, on the outs. She's a number that could help me. But he was like, nope. Um, so I don't really blame him for choosing. Uh, you know, who he chose. But like, good God, like
Yeah.
I also don't like I get why Liz reacted the way she did, but at the same time it went overboard. Like I was like it took so many people by surprise. Like I don't
Yeah.
think anyone has ever reacted that way over a challenge loss before.
Yeah. Well, I think Q is the only person who doesn't take Liz in this situation, which makes
Yeah.
it, like of all people, for Q to finally win a challenge, you know.
It just puts a bigger target on his.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. There's a level of like, I agree. He has a huge target, but also he has like no target the later he gets into this game because at some points, like, he gets to the end, no one's voting for him to win. So the more that he kind of like just keeps skating by, the higher chance it is that he ends up being that third place finalist in the end.
Yeah. But yeah. I don't know, like it's kind of funny because I feel like with this season, as we're approaching the seven, it's really shaping up who is going to be the winner of this season. I think it could potentially be Charlie. Just based on like everything that's kind of happening, his edit throughout this, he's been winning as well as I don't know, like there could be a thing where he's seen too much of the threat. He could be the fallen angel or someone that goes out at five. But, I feel like just based off everything that's there, I think it's going to be very hard for Kenzie to make it to the end. But I think it's either one of the two. But I feel like it might be Charlie.
I'm still very solid that Kenzie's winning the game. I think Charlie is
Right?
being shown to be a very important player. But I do think he's going to be getting picked off at like 6 or 5, honestly. I mean, I know in the next time Maria is, now getting onto people's radar, who's right next to Maria? Charlie. Like,
Right.
if we lose Maria at 7, I could see Charlie going at 6 or 5.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with him, and that's like why I say tentatively I choose him. I think the thing is, it's like, because like he was always close to winning these challenges. And now that, he has been winning and he has those things under his belt, it's
Mhm.
more and more likely that he is going to be a bigger target. Part of the reason
Yeah,
he's looking for the idol, other than making sure that someone like you or Kenzie or someone else doesn't
yeah,
get it, it's like
yeah. But
you
also,
gotta
you don't want an idol in this season. You'll get voted out, and people are afraid to play
because
their
they don't
idols.
play it. They don't play it. The thing is, it works when you play it.
Yeah, that is
And the thing
true,
is,
but no one knows that on this season. Um, to be fair,
look, are
okay,
you
so I,
playing?
I I have a reasoning on why I think people are not playing their idols. And that is with how the new era currently, how we've been shown every season is that there's a big play that happens at like 6 or 5 that essentially the winner does that wins the game. I think a lot of players right now look at having an idol and they're in the middle merge or somewhere in the merge or whatever, and you see that idol as being your ticket to making that big play at 6 or 5. And so you're trying whatever you can to get yourself into that position to win the game. But unfortunately, sometimes that target is on you before 6 or 5 and you go out.
Yeah,
So I think a lot of people are like hyper analyzing, like trying to be like, okay, this is how I'm going to win the game, but you got to get there to win the game to have a chance to win the game.
yeah. I think it's a tough thing too, and we talked about it a little bit. It's like your idol can give you implicit immunity.
Mhm.
However, you can only get away with it for so long. And I feel, and we've seen this with Hunter, we've seen this with Tiffany, we saw it with Bruce last season,
Mhm.
is that if you have like a public idol and you don't play it and you feel too comfortable with it, it's like you start to get, I don't know, like there have been so many players that have fallen victim to this, where it's like, oh, I don't have to play my idol. I'm not worried or anything like that. And then
Mhm.
they end up going home.
Yeah.
Gem, totally different story because she got it right then and there. And she was like completely blindsided. She had no reason to expect that it was her going home.
Yeah.
So that was like complete blindside. Um, Whereas, Tiffany said that she was going to play her idol last episode, didn't. And this episode,
Yeah.
well, I mean, like everyone was like, it's totally cute. It's totally cute. And even like I've kind of noticed in recent episodes that, the tribal or like the challenge to win the immunity challenge is like midway through the episode. And this time it was like dang near the end. And so I'm like, oh, I'm guessing not too much happened for the discussion and whatnot. And tribal council is pretty straightforward because we haven't gotten that in a while. Usually it's like early in the episode we see we see the challenge. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, they had to give all the time to the Applebee's and then sing multiple scenes of Liz being upset and them talking about
yeah,
how Liz didn't go and not eating the burgers. No one
that
ate the
was.
burgers.
I'm not gonna lie, y'all could have saved it for later.
Yeah, I believe we hear Tiffany say, "Can I get a to-go box?" And I bet you that that was probably in reference to getting something for Liz, but they probably said no because they didn't
I mean,
want.
like, you could have like had it for like later or stuff. Like, you guys were
Yeah,
at the sanctuary the whole night.
yeah,
A little midnight snack, little
yeah.
morning breakfast.
Yeah,
Like,
well, it
I'm
probably
pretty
it
sure.
probably went bad at a certain point, and they had to take it away because,
Fucking, they're starving, dude.
yeah. But I mean, I bet you the producers, because I know that the waiter was a head producer of Survivor. I saw that was confirmed, so I bet you that he was like, "Hey, I can only let this be out here for so long, otherwise, you guys might actually get sick for eating this."
I really don't. All right, this might be a hot take, but I feel like the serving temperatures for a lot of shit is baloney.
Uh,
Here's
no,
why. No,
No, I know that that's not true because I've worked in the food industry, and it is, if you serve something that is like cold, getting to a cold level, like you can get people food sickness. So it is
must have
actually,
I must I must have a stronger stomach. But like at the
yeah.
same time, like it's one of those things where I'm like milk. You have milk out in like a glass or whatever. The milk is already gonna be room temp after a while. Like obviously you don't let it sit out for like an hour or something. But like you're
Yeah, but they probably had to wait like 5 or 6 hours while they were waiting there to feel like they'd want to eat again, and that would
but
just
it's
be
meat. It's not.
yeah, meat is not good to just be sitting out, and cheese, like there's cheese on it as well. It would be a recipe for disaster if it was out there for more than an hour.
Regardless, they're starving. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe my stomach is just better because I've done exactly that and I'm like, I've been totally fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, when you're a producer of a show, you're not going to have like, well, I could do it. It's going to be like, well, what can the average person's body handle, and the average person's body
just
cannot
been like,
handle.
I would have just been like, sign this. Okay, you can do it. Be like, hey, liability waiver, sign. Okay, you can keep it.
No, no, no. I think it's the right call to not let them be able to do that. I think that's too much. But yeah, no, I think, maybe it's messed up, but I'm glad Q won this reward so that way we got this whole meltdown of Liz, to be honest, because it would have been generic Applebee's like we've seen it 100 times or whatever, of them being excited and going and being like, "Wow, I'm having the shark bowl, it's so great." Like that would have just been what we got. But the fact that you then get like this very big dramatic moment, which then they end up voting together in this next one, like it
Yeah,
is wild.
it is wild. I know mostly this is what the episode centered around. So, you know, that's the thing too. It's like putting personal things aside in order to make a big move. Because at the top of this episode, Kenzie was like, I need to make a move on Tiffany because her game is very identical to mine. And the thing that I need to do to differentiate is get rid of her. And then she didn't feel up to it when the time came. So like, they're talking, they're trying to figure out how do we get rid of Tiffany. And they're right. You don't go to Venus for that one. It's
Uh,
like you can't flip Venus. You gotta go for Liz, where there's a lot more possibility because, Maria has tried to work with Venus before.
mhm.
She's not about that life.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I recently saw Rob Cesternino had a pretty interesting take of what he thinks Liz should have done here. I'll say it here to see what you think. But he says that when they got to tribal, Liz, after everyone voted, Liz should have publicly said to Tiffany, "They're all voting for you. Play your idol." And so that way Q would have gone home, her intended target, and she would have had finally a public play that would have happened on her account.
I'd say that's risky.
Uh,
Not live at Tribal Council, no.
mhm.
You talk to Tiff like in person a little bit before
Yeah,
on the way. Because whispering can start and then the vote goes
yeah,
on Liz.
yeah. Well, no, that's why I said after the votes. So after everyone votes and said
Oh,
Jeff says, "Does anyone have an idol?" That's when Liz says it.
yeah, she could have. Uh Man, that would have been insane.
Mhm.
I think the thing is it's like as much as she wants Q gone, does she throw away the rest of her game?
Mhm.
I know the response to some people will be like, "What game? She's not winning or anything like that." Liz doesn't know that for sure.
Yeah,
And also it's like, well, she still wants to be able to work with these people. And working with your enemy just to get out a big target, that's something that shows character. In episode where where some people will be like, oh, she's whiny. Oh, she's being, throwing a temper tantrum, stuff like that. Showing something where she can be like, hey, my head's still in the game. I'm willing to work with people because, like, okay, she does it for that, but then that puts a bigger target on Liz. And I feel like Liz doesn't really have like a solid foundation for being allied to anyone. Like everyone else kind of has a little something something,
mhm.
whereas Liz is just kind of on an island and she's just like a number that could be used at any point.
Yeah, yeah, true. I just know that her whole story arc right now is trying to make a big move, and then for some reason gets ruined. Now, I think she should not be worried about the Tevin move because I think that she could, if she got Final Tribal, let people remember that, and that would be true, and people would recognize that. Um, but she got so caught up in the idea that something else happened at Tribal Council
Yeah.
that was a big deal, that she kind of couldn't get past that, and that's now created the snowball effect that if something doesn't go her way, she takes it personally.
I don't know, I can be like that sometimes too. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Uh
Yeah. I mean, also, like, honestly, if she knew that she also had all these health, like, food allergies and stuff, like, I'm surprised Survivor let her go out there on a season where they're not giving out rice in the way that they used to in past seasons.
I'm sure it's something producers and whatnot talked about, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but people are starving already. I mean, these are the same
Yeah.
people for All Stars where most of the cast didn't have drinkable water for one third of the game.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I feel like they assumed that the rice negotiation was going to work again, and that they were like, okay, let's just get Liz
yeah,
there, and then she'll have rice. And then this is the season that didn't happen. So then they had to do it again, and then this time they had to create a fail safe in case people still said no, and do
which
individual rice.
the thing is, like, they did a it's like, if they were gonna do it with more people, what makes you think they're gonna do it the same? It's not the same deal. It's a worse deal. It's like,
Yeah,
all right, you're gonna have to sacrifice even more because that's just how fractions work. It's like you could either give up 2/5 of your tribe or like one or like not even 1/4 or half of you can go. If you do the math,
yeah,
it's a worse deal. It's like
yeah,
half of you can get or if it's like two vote thing, it's like all right, 1/5 or 1/4.
yeah.
And so, you know,
Yeah,
it's
I
not a
thought
good
I thought it was going to just be two, maybe three people need to sit out. But and yet
So
again though, I don't think we would have gotten two people. I think Liz would have been the only one, and I mean Kenzie was willing to, but even then, I think she kind of wanted to still compete. So
yeah. Um, I mean, that's always the tough thing, and it is something to even consider part of your strategy when it comes into because we've seen sit out challenges before, but it
Mhm.
would mostly be like, okay, y'all can while they compete in this endurance comp, you can have this entire buffet. Or while they compete in this, you can
Mhm.
have as many, burgers and fries as you want. Things like that. Whereas, now it's like, hey, you want rice? All right, we're gonna sit down. And it's it's a I don't know, with the chaoticness of this season, I see why it kind of makes more sense
Mhm.
why it hasn't been that way. And I'm glad there was like a fail-safe thing there because I don't think they also want another quit. Because I
Yeah.
feel like I don't think that Liz was gonna quit, but
Uh,
I feel like when someone is reacting that way, you don't know what they're gonna do. I'm not saying that she was gonna go violent or anything like that, but it's like they had to give her something,
yeah.
but they couldn't flat out be like, "Yo,
Yeah, I mean,
here."
I think they were definitely going to head down the road pretty soon if she didn't go on any reward challenges anytime soon or didn't get any rice. I could see in a couple of days her just giving up. Like I think that there's definitely that
I don't think
possibility.
so.
I mean, she says she doesn't even
There's
want to be around y'all. Like she does say that.
yeah.
and
Well, I
and
mean, she's a
and, and she's going to have more of those emotions the longer the game goes on, and the more that that's going to become real, the more that is not going to just be her saying it, that is going to be her true feelings of it. And eventually, I mean, Jeff's going to say, okay, are you just going to quit already? Like there's going to have to be something of, like she's going to eventually have to do it, because if you're not eating and you're not getting any substance, and you're upset that you're not getting anything done in the game either. I mean, I mean, I think at
no,
some point she'd rather just go and eat.
I don't I don't think that that's the case in the sense of like I think that might be the thing. Oh, if she throws a temper tantrum, then naturally that. But I'm like, she's made it this far in that regard, and it's also like she also is a mother. So like in the sense of like what's else keeping her out there, her kid. Um, and I know that's something like you and I can't really like go first base on because neither of us are fathers, or at least that we know of. Uh, uh, you just hear a knock on your door, Joe, and then
Yeah.
and
I'd
anyway,
feel bad for that kid. Yeah.
anywho, uh, but it's like one of those things where it's like, all right, does she want to quit of a show she loves and that, is part of her bonding experience with her daughter and stuff like that. I feel like just because you have a shitty mental state doesn't mean that you're gonna give up. Um, so I don't fully believe that she would have quit. But at the same time, I understand from a producer standpoint, watching someone freak out, like I said, on the same level as Brandon Hans or Sue Hawk over not going on a reward. It raises eyebrows. Like, okay, she's not necessarily getting violent. She is definitely feeling s- big anger right now, but she's not throwing anything. She's not
Yeah.
destroying anything.
Yeah. She's gonna go back to the camp and just start chopping the coconuts and throwing them into the ocean. Like if she started doing that. That's her way of dumping the rice. That would be something.
Yeah. Uh, which, like I said, it's something where she wasn't, it was something where it's like, all right, from a producer standpoint, sometimes they do stand in to do stuff. Also, we don't know if this is something they would have done in a different season if they
Yeah.
didn't choose the rights. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I feel like it's one of those things where they saw it was like, yeah, let's give it like a little cop out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because the whole like rice starving thing, it's just not working for the new era.
No, I think they need to give them rice again. Like I think that I think them taking away stuff from the players it just makes the show a little worse. And it's not like super visible, but like I do think there's definitely effects in this like mid merge onwards. Like we see it multiple times. The players are a lot less like there mentally and physically than in previous seasons. Um, and it does make some of this like mid merge a little more of a slog just because you're not getting as I guess dynamic gameplay as you could potentially get.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's like even they made a thing of that before this challenge, where it was like, Charlie was talking about. I was like, yeah, I haven't really won too much. I feel dizzy every time I get up or anything. Even though he still crushed it in the
Mhm.
immunity challenge. Like, it's something where we haven't reached that level of hunger and stuff like that, so we don't know personally what that's like. But like having to do that and then doing any of these challenges when you're well rested and have, food in your stomach. I was gonna say tummy or stomach and then it come out tummy. Um, so yeah. So like even doing any of those challenges IRL with, you know, the the necessities of a human being and like your everyday life is still a lot. Now doing
Mhm.
that when you're on like 30 calories a day or something like that, it's a whole other story.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, yeah. What else was there? Anything else that really stuck out besides the Liz drama? And we talked a little bit about the Tiffany Idol stuff already.
Yeah.
So
The grip strength.
grip strength, yeah.
Um, with that challenge. Also, I found it funny, or I wouldn't say funny, but there was like a thing with Q when he was losing that challenge, and it
Mhm.
just slow mode in his reaction of him dropping his bucket.
Yeah.
And like, Venus is just like, yeah, go ahead and drop, 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 drop. And like being very, very like, mean girl about it. It's like,
Yeah.
uh I know like he's public enemy number one, but at the same time it's like, dang. Uh yeah. Uh Other than that, like that was another thing where he was like, oh yeah, grip strength is like so important in challenges. And it's if you think about it, you're right, because there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that require you to hold on to or have like a firm grasp of. Uh, so yeah, definitely got to work out the hands if you plan on going on Survivor.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's now become like number one on like the checklist of items that you want to get if you know that you're in the casting pool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. So
But
all the players who are coming for season 50, don't learn puzzles like Carson. You get your grip strength up. Like they can't ban that stuff away from you. So
exactly. Uh, Speaking of which, this was kind of so. I also got this buff. So there was this for your consideration event in Hollywood where I got to do some challenges and I got to vote off Joe. I'll show you again.
yeah.
I got to vote off Joe. Joe wasn't there, but I was like, well, whose name am I gonna write down? I couldn't choose Pirate Sarah. I couldn't choose Portia or anyone like that because I'm like, that was in the game. I kind of I'll throw jabs here and there, but I'm not gonna dedicate an entire parchment to it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, Joe, I thought I'd write your name down. So when you come down to LA again, I
Yeah.
can give it to you so you have your name. I have mine that I wrote down for myself.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah.
Yeah, I know. In the group chats that I'm in, a lot of us were sending stuff because Matt was there and Josh was there. Who were I've been on
Yeah,
seasons with both of them. So
yeah,
in both of my main chats, I was getting pictures that they were taking and stuff as well. So
yeah. Um, Took down Josh in a few challenges. And then also while I was there, so the event itself, it was in like a smallish area. It was kind of wild to do some of the challenges, like the lines were long. There was a lot of Survivor fans out there, which was cool. Some
mhm.
people I met at Bryson Wen, someone that I knew from when I did Quiz Club, which was a quiz show that's still going on that I don't really do anymore, but
Mhm.
who was like my big rival on there. And then met some new friends too. But what happened was they kind of ended it early. It was supposed to be noon to 4. And then
Oh,
like 3:40 is like, oh, we're gonna clear everyone out. And then they reopened it like 3 hours later. And then that's when Jeff comes. And it's like, yo, it's like, why not make this an all day thing? And when they reopened it, it was like, hey, now we have like drinks you can get and this and that. And it's like, why was this not the whole thing the entire day?
yeah, that's kind
Like,
of weird.
for real.
Yeah, it feels like that's the better version is the one that's happened later because it's got Jeff, it's got drinks.
And like you could do the challenges. Like there was 5
Yeah.
challenges. I only did 3. I was in line to do a fourth one, but they kind of like me and someone I met there, we were like the last 2 in line. And then when they decided to end it early, they were like, "All right, you two, so you're actually not gonna be able to do it. So here are buffs. I got this one. Person I was with, she got a Yanu buff. Um,
Nice.
uh, it went with her outfit, so it worked. But yeah, so
I mean, I
yeah,
think that's worth it, honestly. To not do the challenge, you get a buff like
to get a
that's
buff, yeah, I'm wearing it now. I'm
yeah.
wearing it when I watch Survivor. I'll be wearing it whenever I get to do like org stuff, whether I'm hosting or whatnot.
Mhm.
So yeah. Um and then later that night, that's when he announced Survivor 50. And we have some stuff in store for that. Not us, but like he
Yeah.
announced it 2 years before it comes out. So I find that a little weird, not gonna lie.
Hmm.
It's like, but like why? Like I get it,
Yeah.
Survivor 50 is gonna be something big, but why are you announcing that before we get 47, 40, before more seasons? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. You feel like you would have announced this, they would announce this as they were gearing up to cast season 50. But still a
yeah,
little bit away before they get to that point. So definitely a little
you have
interesting.
an entire year. We have like an entire like year of 47 to 48 where there might be someone where, yo, we might like really. The thing is, it's like, and this is a discussion we can do for like even another video. I know I talked to Joe, and I think it's going to be a cool little series we'll have on here for a while about the whole like situation and whatnot. But it's like you have like one full year of seasons to go through. We're not done with this one. And then you have 49. So
Yeah,
it's like they're kind of like they're announcing it like really kind of premature because it's like
yeah,
we won't see this season. We won't even see a trailer for the season until
yeah.
2025, late 2025.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of sucks to be on season 40 several, 48 or 49 now because
Yeah.
like you're going to be on it, but people are going to be talking about season 50. Like you're going to be going
Yeah.
into the premiere with people talking about season 50.
Which kind of sucks. Yeah, it does suck because like when we're talking about even season 39,
Hmm.
it had its own host of issues. However, like one thing going into that season, a lot of people were like, and even us when we were talking about it, I was like, all right, like we're really looking forward to Winners at War, though we didn't know it was called that at that time.
Yeah,
But like, it was like, all right, this is kind of like we're gonna watch it. It's Survivor, and then it's Winners at War. And
yeah,
so so now they're doing it 3 times. Um, but yeah, I know they're announcing Survivor 50, but I don't know because obviously us as fans, we have opinions on how they've handled certain seasons and whatnot from a
Mhm.
production standpoint.
Yeah,
So we are like a little concerned of like, all right, is this just going to be 18 people?
yeah,
Um, he did confirm that it is not going to be just New Era people.
yeah.
They don't want to limit themselves that way.
Yeah, yeah, and the phrasing though was specifically that they're not limiting themselves. It is still possible that we have a all new era season. They haven't ruled that out. They're basically saying everything is on the table right now. So so
Yeah,
it
I don't
could
know.
go either way.
I also don't think that I'm also someone where I'm like, I feel like we need two. We need 48 to be
Yeah.
pretty much all stars for the new era. And then we need 50 to be this grand slam of like, I think, fuck it, 24 contestants. Or
Uh-huh.
be even bolder, 27 contestants.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be, this is 50 seasons of a show.
Yeah.
Like so many so many shows don't even make it past the pilot, or like so many like shows or reality competitions don't make it this far. So
Yeah.
like this is just like a huge thing, huge accomplishment, not just for Survivor, but reality competitions in general. So it's
Yeah.
like, yo, let's make this like an insane season.
Yeah. I've been hearing, like, I heard someone, I don't think they'll do this, but I'll just say what I heard because I thought it would be funny. Is to do 50 players in the season, 5 tribes of 10. And every tribal, only one tribe is safe, and then every other tribe has to go to tribal to kind of like speed the game up doing that. Um, I don't think they do
Yeah,
that, but interesting
because
idea.
that's a lot on production standpoint.
Yeah.
And then also I don't think that's satisfying. I think that is too much.
Yeah.
Like if season 50 was like two parts.
Yeah. Well, they mentioned in it that they said that this should also be a 50-day season.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like it definitely has to take some inspiration from Australian Survivor.
Hmm.
Uh, but also I feel like it's something where they have to really like because it's not uncommon for shows. In fact, it's become more of a trend where seasons will have a part one and part two. Like for season
Hmm.
50, have part one be leading up until like May. Let that
Yeah.
be like start in February, then end of May. That's when it's like earn the merge. And then when merge happens, it's like, all right, part two coming in fall of 2020 or 2026, or coming in like 2, 3 months during the
Yeah.
summer, something like that.
Yeah. I think the problem is that unfortunately it is in the second half of the filming cycle. Um,
That is fair.
I think if it was the beginning cycle, I think they would say we're not filming a second season. We're going to have this entire time be for this one All-Star season where we have a lot of extra time. We get more people. We go all out. But the fact that they know they got to do 49 and then 50 definitely I think it's going to kind of make them feel like they got to do like an 18-person season and kind of keep it the same. Um, so we're gonna have to see because I know everyone wants minimum 20 players on the season,
Yeah.
but but from a producing standpoint, I definitely see why they're hesitant to do it.
Well, I mean, yeah, just like from a practicality thing,
Yeah.
especially when Survivor has been in, I forget what YouTuber I watched where they were calling it that not the new era, but the budget era,
Hmm.
where it's like we're on a tighter budget. Um, I could even see them. We'll entertain the idea before we go back to 46, because I know like this is like a whole discussion on its own. This is a whole video on its own. But it's like, do you think, and this is bold, we get season 49. We don't get anything for that slot for for spring 2026. But when fall 2026 comes, that's when we get season 50 and it's a two-parter. They would
I-
save up money and go out with a bang.
yeah, I think the issue is the contract they have with CBS because
Yeah,
they they've already ordered the seasons and they're expecting them to hit certain deadlines in the contracts. And so to skip it out for something that they're already planning to do, even though yeah, it would make it the season better, I don't think that they'll see that actually help like push out Survivor as much. Like they'll think the bump is probably going to be too small to waste to not get that extra amount of money from a whole season there. Um and then
very solid.
just to go back to one for the next cycle. Um so that's what I would probably say. And it sucks because I want the fun stuff. I want there to be more people. I want them to go back to 39 days. But I also just know that they really don't seem to want to do it from the production side. And that is the side that needs to want to do it.
Well, I mean, because it's like not even like award money or anything like that.
Mhm.
But that's 13 more days,
Yeah,
essentially 2 weeks that you're paying all that crew and
yeah,
whatnot. So it's
yeah,
like I get it. It's a big chunk for a show that's like obviously Survivor is still going strong. If people weren't watching it, it wouldn't be on anymore.
mhm,
Like, you know, um,
yeah,
they've canceled or they've canceled a lot of shows for a lot less.
yeah,
Um, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll
yeah,
see.
yeah. We also have to remember Jeff Probst. He's going to be like 64 going into that season 50. So
So
he's getting up there. Uh, and Survivor is definitely a show
50's the new 50, my dude.
Survivor is a show that requires a lot more strenuous time than, say, if you were hosting like Big Brother or something else like that. You have to be out there for a lot longer. Like there's a lot of things that,
Yeah,
and
Joey can do more stuff out here, but
yeah, and like it's a very important factor. I like a lot of people are talking that 50 might be Jeff Probst's last season. Like there's a lot of that happening right now. Because and he's kind of gotten to a weird point, I feel like in the new era where like he's having fun, but he's not as into it in terms of like how I think he was, maybe 10 years ago. Like there is definitely a bit of a difference in terms of how he is going about it. And like how long can Jeff Probst actually be out there on the island, call in the challenges, in real time like that, being able to, you know, be engaged in the conversations at tribal council, being able to produce, check every little detail that is happening in the casting process, like all of this stuff at a certain point is going to be too much for him, and he's going to have to stop. And
that is
we're
a
we're
valid
definitely
point.
we're definitely getting close to it. If let's say he doesn't want to stop at 58, say he wants to go down to 60, he's going to be 69 by the time that he films season 60. Like he is going to almost be 70 years old.
I feel like that's the thing too. Like we live in a world where Matt Pat is no longer like the voice of like the theory channels.
Mhm.
Like, it's one of those things where eventually, he won't host the thing. And it's gonna be sad
Yeah,
when he doesn't. But I feel like it's gonna be too sad.
yeah.
In the sense of like I get it. Eventually he will want to like retire. Um, but I feel like 60 is not that 60 is the new 50, dude.
Well, that's
Like
what I'm saying. He's
I wouldn't even
64. He's mid 60s at that point.
mid 60s, but like
And
That's like
yet again,
that's
it's
like
not
early 50s.
it's not your typical producing job that you would have in the States. It is way tougher in terms of traveling, being out on location, being out in the wilderness, being able to, be in the water. Like he's had to be in the water for some of these challenges to get good views. He has to yell and project to get like everyone to
Yeah,
be able to hear. Like at a certain point, that is you can't do that at a certain age. And we don't know when that
I
age
get
will be for Jeff Probst specifically, but it is definitely something that is on the horizon.
I don't want to say on the horizon, but I do know eventually the day will come.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a sad day, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying this because this is what a lot of the community is talking about right now. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people are talking about Jeff calling 50 like his, end on top. Don't wait until it becomes clear and affecting your product.
Might be throwing shade, but that might have already passed my due.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. I mean it's
then again,
happening.
Survivor has had their rough patches before.
Yeah.
Like, we refer to 21 through like 24 as the dark ages,
Yeah.
or you know, uh we've referred to like, certain parts of like Survivor as like dark ages, or like ages where it's like, these are not good, or it's kind of like this. So like I think New Era is something where, yeah, it's had a lot of rough spots. It had some really cool stuff, but at the same time, Universe, I feel like, especially this season, it's left a lot of sour taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. And it seems like they're not truly listening to fans.
Yeah.
And that's another thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy too because there's so many other things that got cut on the chopping floor when they reinvented the game during COVID. Do you remember hearing Rick Devens was supposed to be like a correspondent out on the island?
Really.
Yeah, yeah. So like things would happen and then they would cut to Rick Devens and then he would give his little inputs. That was an idea that they thought of and went pretty deep. Like they talked to Devens about it.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I feel like that changes up the game too much.
Yeah, well, that they wanted to change the game going into season 40. They wanted it to
No, as in
feel,
like changes up the narrative of the game. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. They wanted everything to be different, including how the show is being told.
Hmm.
That was their original idea. So luckily that they got rid of that and were like, okay, let's not do that. But they kept the hourglass. They did not want to budge on the hourglass at first. Uh, I hate thinking about the hourglass. It's so it bums me out.
Yeah. I'm sure it bums out a few Lydia and Sydney too.
Yeah. Uh okay. Well, is there anything else to talk about or can we just get to confessionals? I feel like we went on so many tangents here.
Yeah. I guess we're going to confessionals. Let's go right there.
Okay. So Tiffany went out here. She ends with 49 confessionals. So
Not too shabby.
pretty solid, pretty solid. So the highest in the game right now is still Q with 65 confessionals. Pretty dang a good amount of confessionals. Um, and then next up we got Kenzie with 56 confessionals. And then Charlie with 47 confessionals, Venus with 40 confessionals, um, Ben with 29 confessionals, and then tied for last, we got Maria and Liz with 28 confessionals. So Liz in this last
Seems
episode though got 11 confessionals. So she almost doubled her confessionals in one episode.
it feels so weird that Maria is that low.
Yeah. Yeah, and she Maria got 8 confessionals this episode. So before this episode, she only had 20. And she feels like a very important character. Like, she's in a lot of the important talks of the season. She is someone who has a zero confessional episode, um, which is something to keep in mind for potential winner consideration.
Consider, yeah.
Yeah, Venus this episode got zero confessionals. Crazy that someone got zero confessionals at episode 10 with only 8 people left.
Yeah.
Especially that being
Yeah.
Venus, who can't, shut up. um,
Um, Another thing too, Ben. Ben is someone where I don't know, like when we hear about him, but like there's a lot of times where we don't. He is someone
yeah,
that's I don't want to say there, but I feel like
uh,
there's so much commotion that we're like, oh yeah, Ben.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
it is something where yeah,
he definitely seems a bit forgettable in terms of like where he is. That he's even in the game still sometimes because it's like we don't see almost anything of Ben, and then like they'll start talking, and then suddenly like one scene will be like we'll hear Ben say something, and then that's like it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like most of what we heard from Ben this episode is that he's tired of Q shit.
Yeah,
That's pretty much it.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I don't like Ben's chances. I think he can win if he's in the finals with Q, Liz, or Venus. I think those are probably the only chances that he has to win the game, is he has to sit
Yeah.
with two of them.
I don't know. To kind of go off of our predictions theory, so where Tiffany was placed on the list, right next to her, is Liz.
Uh,
I feel that's probable, very
it's po-
probable.
it's very possible.
Um,
It is something that
yeah.
can happen.
So it's like, so for those of you who don't know who's tuning in, so we did draft at the beginning of the season as we do every season, but our placements for where things are drafted, especially ever since the gem elimination, it has aligned with whoever has been placed. Um, that's the next person that goes. So like after Gem, Mariah went. After Tim went, Soda left. And they were like placed on the same thing. And then Tevin left, and then Hunter left. And so like it's been this like ping pong match on our draft sheet. So because Tiffany went here, if we're following the pattern, it's like some Final Destination shit.
Uh,
Uh, Liz is going home next episode.
yeah. I just looked at the draft again and I just realized, oh, you have Ben, Q, Liz, and Venus. The people who I think are least likely. I only have three left, but I feel like they're the three most likely to win at this stage.
Yeah. Well, if Maria had a better edit, then yeah.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, I have Q, Venus, Ben,
Yeah.
and Liz.
So
Well,
you're hoping for like worst case scenario final three of
no, I'm hoping for a Q, Liz, Venus
That's
finale.
what I'm saying. That's the worst case scenario. That is not what we want to have happen.
The grand calculus of the multiverse and the day after podcast.
Please no. Please no. We can't have this. We can't have that.
The grand calculus, Joe.
This season, I mean, I like honestly, they need to burn the season if that's the final three. Like get a virtual fire and throw the season into it.
Grand calculus.
Okay. Well, let's do MVP and LVP.
MVP.
I'm going with Charlie for MVP.
Yeah.
One
Was able to get out
immunity,
of Scarlet. One.
one of the factors of why the blindside happened against Tiff. So yeah,
Yeah. Was able to make the right call of bringing in Liz. I think that's a pretty solid choice.
yeah.
Who is the LVP? I think there is three solid contenders, being Tiff, Q, and Liz. Tiff for happening not too long after Hunter's
Yeah.
episode. Actually, literally the next episode. being eliminated with an idol in the pocket, you would think that would strike fear into her, be like, maybe I should. Especially with how much she was talking about playing the idol.
Uh-huh.
I know we don't always like giving it to the LVP to the person going home, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it just kind of happened like that where because I feel like Liz was able to bounce back and like kind of redeem herself with like, okay, I am big enough of a person to work with Q to get rid of one vote, and Q is still in this game miraculously. As well as he was like, all right, I'm willing to make that move, and he stuck by his guns. Say what you want about his decision about not taking Liz, but he like bunkered down on being like, no, I don't want to support any of the whining or anything. Liz, you're not going.
Um,
I don't think it's a great thing, but I give him like a point for sticking to his guns.
yeah. For me, yeah, it's either Liz or Tiffany for me. I kind of respect Q sticking with his original
Yeah.
plan for if he won. I do respect that. Not like just saying, oh well, I guess I got to bring this person who wants me out of the game. Um, I I am going to give it to Liz. I think that despite her doing decent then after everything, I do think that this blow up kind of like she was so under the radar and not on people's attention, and then this has spiked people's like notice of her, and she did not need people to be noticing her right now. She was doing things behind the scenes that she could have easily got to the final trial and said, look at the stuff that I was doing. You guys were all so focused on all this craziness that's going on. I was the one behind doing a lot of stuff. And she kind of can't do that now. I think that her game is now out in the open. She, I don't think people thought that her game was blown up by the Hunter vote of her not being in on
I
it.
don't think anyone really thought that her game was
Yes.
blown up.
So for her to then say that to everyone, I think even if that's not true, like like people are now going to say, "Oh, Liz is, just can blow up like that if something doesn't go her way." Like there is definitely going to be negative connotations coming out of this that she didn't have before. Okay.
Very solid point. All
Well,
right. So I guess that wraps up everything.
yeah, that does it here. Next week I will say I will be going down to LA to do some filming. So we're gonna have some interviews coming up from Survivor Vanquish will be coming. So that way that will kind of fill you over until we're able to, film probably the back-to-back episodes or the
Yeah.
two episodes in a row. So look forward to that, and yeah,
Yep.
we will see you all in the next one.
All right. Peace out, guys. See you around.